Israeli airstrikes on Gaza kill 20 people, including 9 children, Palestinian officials say.
Here's a summary of the article.
Jerusalem. Israeli airstrikes killed 9 children and 15 others in Gaza on Monday, Palestinian officials said, after some of the worst clashes in Jerusalem in recent years rapidly escalated into an exchange of rockets and bombs between the militant group Hamas and the Israeli military. The Israeli airstrikes came after Hamas fired 7 rockets at Jerusalem, the first time the city had been targeted since 2014, and 200 more at southern Israel. Earlier in the day, violent clashes near Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem's Old City between Israeli police and Arab protesters left more than 300 Palestinians injured. Israeli military spokesman Haideh Zilberman said Israeli forces were preparing for a range of scenarios, including increased air defense and ground reinforcements. The military said its airstrikes had killed 8 Palestinian militants and destroyed a tunnel they used for attacks on Israel. The exchange of fire across the Israel-Gaza border came after running clashes erupted earlier in the day among Israeli police, Palestinian protesters and far-right Israelis around the Old City. The site is also a focus of Israeli nationalists who on Monday celebrated Jerusalem Day, a national holiday often marked by provocative flag parades through Palestinian neighborhoods in the Old City. Daniel Seidman, an Israeli lawyer specializing in Jerusalem politics, said that while neither the volatility nor the mass grassroots resistance movements are new, what has changed in this latest round of violence is that there's no responsible adult. Israel is in the midst of a years-long political stalemate that has deprived the country of a fully functioning government, he noted, while relations with the neighboring Jordanian king, who could have influence on the situation, are at a low point.
This post received a score of 37,000, with an upvote ratio of 83%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
Greater than no responsible American president can remain silent when basic human rights are violated. Joe Biden less than 2 weeks ago. Let's see what happens.
State Department spokesman literally unable to condemn killing children. Thumbs up, thumbs up.
Blinken's statement was even worse. Blows my mind people still fall for all the human rights bullshit language from them.
As long as we're careful to not ignore human rights violations simply because our leaders do.
Sure, we, the people, won't ignore these human rights violations, but what are we supposed to do? We elected an overall more progressive, liberal president and Congress, but if they won't act, then what is the average person supposed to actually do? Other than share on social media and donate to human rights causes?
Greater than we elected an overall more progressive, liberal president and Congress. More progressive doesn't mean progressive.
Duh. I know that. But it really shouldn't be this hard for a conservative, liberal, progressive or leftist to agree a state should not be bombing children. It's just disappointing.
The point is, you surely can try to elect actually progressive candidates. That's what primaries are for. But unfortunately it looks like they aren't popular enough. So you can't blame this solely on the leaders.
True. I see your point. I really hope to see a Sanders type as national leader at some point, but my optimism is waning. It still shouldn't be that hard for our leaders to condemn this kind of stuff.
Even Sanders isn't anti-imperialist enough. The current ruling is the Jewish titles from the 19th century have been given the legal status of ownership. Palestinians have been able to continue living in these homes provided they pay rent. Many have stopped paying rent as they believe they are the rightful owners of the land from their purchase during Jordan-occupied Jerusalem.
Greater than from Arab land owners. I think this ignore a key little bit of history and subtlety to this. Most Palestinian land transfer in the late 19th century was between Ottoman nobles and European Jews. As part of the Tanzimat reforms, the Ottomans issued deeds to landowners, but many were peasants or farmers who did not know or care. So many of these deeds ended up in the hands of local nobles, who would then sell these deeds regardless of the actual owners.
If you ever want to study whataboutism, just start a conversation about this conflict.
Well, what about false equivalence? There's plenty of straw man arguments going on too. What about that?
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.